Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to check out a mod which is going to pretty much act like a vanilla thing, to be honest. All it really does is changes start positions for a number of legendary lords. Now that might not sound too exciting, but in fact it fixes up campaigns for a lot of legendary lords which are currently suffering at the very beginning of their campaign and normally get destroyed very early on, and just brings you a different experience overall. It's not just for you but also for the AI to expand in different ways, and honestly this feels more vanilla to me than the actual vanilla. This feels a lot more fluid and yeah, it just feels better. So with all that being said, let's check out all the changes and you'll see why. So we'll start off with Skarbrand, who's been moved to the Southern Kairos Wastes in the right hand side of it, which means that you'll be fighting directly with that Suneshi minor faction. And honestly this just allows you to build up a little bit. This gives you territory to work around, take out a few factions which are in the Southern Waste themselves, and build up to actually have some sort of army, build up a small economy. Not only that, but it gives you a little bit of breathing room to actually start building properly rather than getting attacked left, right and center by savage orcs, Skaven, this, that or the other. It feels a little bit less hectic and it's just much needed. Let's be honest, as fun as Skarbrand is, he is a little weak at the very beginning, so you need some time to build up some actual momentum. Kairos Fateweaver, who desperately needed a bit of a move, is now in the Southern Kairos Wastes, and, well, it's the same thing, right? He was surrounded there. Once you take out that minor faction, you start dealing with those lizard men, then you've got Teclis to deal with, who will normally declare war on you. Tic-tac-toe also does too. Then you're just kind of getting dogpiled constantly with not really too good of an economy at the very beginning, so now you've got a little bit of breathing room. Obviously keep in mind that you'll have to deal with these ancient minor faction. You'll also have Oxyotl and Skarbrand to deal with. Same thing with Skarbrand, you'll have to deal with Oxyotl and Kairos, but it definitely gives you a bit of breathing room. Small things like this could really just improve the quality of life for a lot of campaigns, and it definitely does for him. Now, because of that, Teclis has been moved to the Fortress of Dawn. Keep in mind that right now, any old corruption is still going to be there from previous demonic lords, but that generally gets fixed up with time, like a few turns, and you've pretty much just fixed that up. But yeah, anyways, so you get a little bit of room to expand. You're not so close to Krokkar that everything feels claustrophobic, and then you can decide, okay, I'm going to move up north, I'm going to go left or right, or I'm going to go down south and deal with Kairos, Skarbrand, and maybe Oxyotl, because he normally expands quite heavily. But yeah, this does feel a little better. It gives you a little bit of place to just relax, and I feel like some of these campaigns needed a little bit more areas to relax. Obviously, this will change in the future because, you know, as DLC comes in, there's going to be more and more lords. Things are going to get hectic in general, but yeah, so far so good. Malus Darkblade has been moved, and it's a really curious one. So, a little closer to all the other Dark Elves, which means that you're the vanguard for the Dark Elves going straight into the Chaos Waste in most cases. And yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing. There's a few changes as to why Malus got moved, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's still the same campaign. Nothing really changes. You're still doing your usual mechanics for Zarkon and all that type of stuff. So I don't feel like really you have to worry. If anything, this just kind of helps up some of the Chaos factions in the Northern Chaos Wastes. Well, you guys must be aware by now that Malus just basically takes over. So yeah, a little bit of balance here, but that really does help the AI to just expand a bit, and that's always kind of needed. Daniel has been moved ever so slightly, just further into the left or the Northern Chaos Waste, so you're more centralized now, and now without the threat of Malus, you can expand without too much of a problem, which was a massive issue for Daniel back in the day. Well, I mean, it still is in vanilla, but you know what I mean. And yeah, it just lets Chaos kind of get its footing a little bit. They'll still infight because, you know, this is Total War, but yeah, it allows for Daniel to last a bit longer, which, let's be honest, he doesn't do that much. Azazel has been moved to the Northern Chaos Wastes, which means that you'll be fighting versus Valkyria, the Dark Elves, and Malus. Yeah, Malus is a Dark Elf, but, you know, he expands so quickly. So yeah, you're going to be fighting quite a lot of enemies, and it makes sense. Azazel is quite powerful, the fact that he can fly too. Yeah, it's good. It moves around for a little bit. You'll realize why when we go into the LUSC section. I haven't really been able to try Azazel just yet, but I'm imagining his campaign will play exactly the same, considering that there's a decent amount of dark fortresses around this area. In fact, you probably get less of a threat with not having to deal with Kislev declaring war on you very, very early on, so it should be a bit more relaxed. Sigvald has been moved into the northern reaches of Norska, which means that right in turn 1 you can actually vassalize Ulfrik, which we all know means that you win the game. Anyways, so it's a little bit safer. You do have a lot of ways to expand into Norska, and you do have a lot of dark fortresses there, so the campaign still plays out the same. It's probably just because it's not so much dealing with Malus. You'll still have to deal with Malus, keep that in mind, but you've got a potential ally very close to you with Azazel, so it could be a little bit easier just to deal with. It's still going to be Malus though. Keep in mind that just Malus is just really, really strong. Wulfrik has been moved further south, actually back to his original start position, which is kind of funny, but it kind of works out since you can now just like take this area, and if you don't want to deal with Norska, you can just go south into the Empire lands. This is just to give you a little bit of breathing room between Sigvald and Be'lakor, who is just way too close at the very beginning. You'll be doing less infighting and then focusing more on actually causing trouble to the Empire or wherever you want to go, and I feel like this is a better start position. I feel like Wulfrik should have just stayed in his original start, really. Mannfred has been moved to Nagashazar, which is a bit of an interesting campaign. So, at the very beginning, you've got no corruption, but you can spread that quite easily. But the Minor Skaven clan still has that really powerful 20 stack. They can't really hold the money too well, which is perfectly fine, so you'll be able to just take that over. But it definitely is a different campaign, and it just kind of kills off the congestion in the Southlands, which is kind of important. Yeah. Like, it's really important. Kurgath, and this is a personal favourite of mine, has been moved further up north to the northern Chaos Wastes, which means that you're not surrounded by constant enemies. Yes, you're going to be fighting with a lot of other demon factions, but it's not dealing with all the same issues with aversion, where everyone else has like a minus 100 aversion to you. So this means that you can expand and you can take your time without having to feel like, oh, after dealing with the lizard men, you have to deal with Ghost, but then you've got to deal with the ogres attacking you from all different sides, the Skaven, Imrik, then Cafe declaring war on you. It becomes a lot less of a hectic slog, and it honestly feels so much better. Like, don't get me wrong, like the Nurgle faction still has its issues, but yeah, this just kind of really lightens the load. Since the Dragon Isles are now open, Imrik has been moved there, which kind of works out for him, considering that he was in an area that he was getting dogpiled a lot. He would be very close to Mannfred right now. He's still got Tretch, you know, Scarsnake and all that type of stuff. So yeah, you are still kind of dealing with the same campaign that Kurgath had. However, you're a lot stronger than Kurgath. You can build up armies quicker. You know, you're not going to deal with the same slowness. So it doesn't really matter, you're actually just in a better position, more defensible too. I mean, once you've taken the Dragon Isles, go straight to deal with Ghost, and then afterwards, you've already got a tentative ally with Cafe, so you're not dealing with Cafe invasions. You can just work your way up or into the Darklands as you wish. Drycha has been moved now to the lands of Cafe. There's obviously a building there, you know, there's a tree. So it kind of doesn't really work too well for her. Well, either way, she'll still expand, and it doesn't really change anything for you if you decide to play as Drycha, because, you know, you can just teleport anywhere, so you're fine. If anything, this serves just to help out the issues that are currently there with the Empire, which is to lighten the load for France and anyone else, because, yeah, let's be honest, it's a bit of a shit show, and Drycha can then go be her genocidal self anywhere else, literally anywhere else. With that, Nakai the Wanderer has been moved ever so slightly, just a little further up to the northeast, and really nothing changes with his campaign, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here. It's just the same, really. It's honestly just the same. If anything, you will have to deal with Drycha early on, though. Alright, this change I'm actually a really big fan of. Skrag has been moved to the Mountains of Morn, back from the Border Prince territories, which was just strange. Anyways, so this means that you're closer to the Great Moor, which kind of makes sense for the Prophet, and that you'll also have a character dealing with the northern parts of the Mountains of Morn, allowing for a bit of a slowdown for Grimgor, and just in general, this just kind of fixes up a lot of things. It's just great for the AI to have another doorstop, so AI is fighting against AI. Plus, if you want to confederate, this is an easier way, I guess, you know. But again, like I said, it's just the case of allowing for expansion. Even if you're not playing as Skrag dies so early into the campaign, which just kind of defeats the purpose. Taurox was moved to the Southlands, which I'm not sure if I actually like or not. Yes, this is an area which has a lot of beastmen, so lore friendly, and there's a lot of areas that you can fight and all that type of stuff, but I don't know. It just feels like there's way too many beastmen here, because obviously if you just go a little bit forward, then yeah, you've got Malagor up there, so I don't know. I would have preferred his usual start position or getting moved to Lustria or something, but yeah. Alifanar has been moved to the Twisted Glade, which means that he has a direct port to the areas of Orthwan and just a little bit of a safe zone. It just feels like a much better campaign for Alifanar. If you don't play as him and you just let the AI play, it's exactly the same thing. He'll still dominate around these areas, but now at least it makes a bit more sense where he's just logical. I think that's the only way that you can call that campaign. It's just logical start here. Lady Diafin has been moved further down south, and yeah, same campaign. She can recruit animated hulks from the very beginning of her campaign, which I feel is a bit too strong, but mind you, you're dealing with a lot of Dark Elves, you'll be dealing with some Norskins, you've got some Elves in Orthwan that are going to be attacking you, Morathi's close too. Yeah, it's going to be a hectic fighting campaign, but yeah, I feel like she's in a very good position. Generally just kind of makes it a little bit more fun where she is. Just so many enemies, especially with a undead faction where you're just going to be recruiting armies quite quickly. It probably just feels better. And finally, a very minor change for Greasus, but he starts at the Great Hall of Greasus, which should have been a thing since, the beginning. However, with all that being said, this is honestly great. Even if you're not playing as these factions and you are just letting the AI play as them so you can play something else, you do notice the change. You honestly do notice the change. It feels a lot better. I mean, Oxyodal is still going to take over the south if it's just the AI because it's Oxyodal. But yeah, it feels great. Like I said, it feels like a vanilla change. Yeah, it's a mod, but it feels like a vanilla change and it feels really, really good. The mod itself is found in the description below. I feel like this is just a massive fix. Yeah, we are expecting some changes for start positions in the future, officially by Creative Assembly. But until that happens, why not try a different experience and get some fun out of it, right? So let me know what you guys think about these changes in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion.